If you are over 50 and trying to build muscle, the problem is often not age alone. It is weak meals, too little protein, and waiting until dinner to eat properly. That is why legs feel less steady, grip feels weaker, and stairs feel harder than they should. And one of the cheapest ways to start fixing that is not an expensive supplement. It is an old pantry powder that can cost around 30 cents a serving. Now, the title says fast, but real muscle support after 50 is never magic. It is simply faster than doing nothing. In this video, I'll show you 5 old-school, low-cost muscle support habits, and number 1 is the hidden powder this whole list builds toward. What cheap food did the strongest older person in your family always keep in the kitchen? Number 5 is the twice-a-week muscle chore. On the 30th of June 2022, the U.S. National Institute on Aging published a research explainer saying strength training may help older adults maintain muscle mass and mobility as they age, and the Institute's current physical activity guidance says older adults should include muscle-strengthening activities at least 2 days a week. That matters because muscle after 50 is not maintained by hope. It is maintained by use. Older households did not call this resistance training. They called it life. People got up from low chairs, lifted sacks, climbed steps, carried buckets, pushed heavy doors, hauled groceries, worked in the yard, and repeated those actions week after week. The modern mistake is thinking walking covers the whole job. Walking is valuable. Keep walking. But walking alone does not fully challenge the pushing, pulling, standing, bracing, and carrying muscles that help you get off the floor, hold yourself steady, carry laundry, open stubborn jars, and move through daily life with confidence. The body logic is simple. Muscle is costly tissue. If your body thinks you rarely need it, it becomes easier to lose. That is why the cheapest muscle plan in the world still needs some kind of regular strain. Not punishment. Not a boot camp. Just enough work to tell the body, keep this. A very practical starting point is 10 to 20 minutes, twice a week. Chair stands, counter push-ups, band rows, step-ups, and carries with grocery bags or hand weights. That kind of effort is humble, but it does something important. It turns muscle from an afterthought into a signal. And once that signal is there, your food starts having a better place to go. The real-life payoff is not just a number on a body scan. It is getting out of a chair without rocking 3 times first. It is feeling less shaky carrying groceries from the car. It is trusting your legs more on the stairs. It is being able to do chores without needing a long recovery for work that used to feel normal. That is why this item sits at number 5. It is not the most exciting part of muscle support, but it is the floor everything else stands on. And the next thing that floor needs is more than one decent protein moment a day. Number 4 is the 3-bell protein day. In August 2013, the ProdAge study group published a position paper recommending that adults over 65 generally aim for about 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day to help maintain lean mass and function. And in December 2014, the SBEN expert group reinforced that older adults often do better with that level of protein alongside regular activity or exercise. That is one reason so many people over 50 feel underpowered even when they do not think of themselves as underfed. Old worker breakfasts understood this before anybody started using phrases like anabolic resistance or protein distribution. Breakfast had eggs, milk, cheese, beans, leftover meat, porridge made with milk, or some other food with enough backbone to carry a working body into the day. Lunch had substance. Dinner was not expected to do all the rebuilding by itself. The modern mistake is coffee in the morning, something tiny at lunch, and one proper protein meal at night. That pattern is common, cheap, and easy, but it leaves older muscle underfed for most of the day. So here is the practical correction. Ring the protein bell 2 or 3 times a day. Breakfast could be eggs and oats, yogurt with fruit and oats, or cottage cheese with potatoes and pepper. Lunch could be bean soup with cheese, tuna on toast, leftover chicken, lentils with yogurt, or a simple sandwich with enough real filling to count. Dinner can still be your biggest meal, but it should not be the first time your body sees meaningful building material. You do not need a perfect spreadsheet. You need repetition. And for many adults over 50, that shift alone makes energy steadier and recovery less spotty. It also helps with something people do not always notice at first: appetite management. When breakfast and lunch are built on almost nothing, the body often drifts into grazing, cravings, or late-day overeating that still does not solve the real problem. But when you anchor the day with real protein more than once, meals feel more useful. You feel less like you are patching leaks with snack food. And that makes it easier to afford the foods that matter most, because your money stops disappearing into little convenience items that never do much for strength. Next comes one of the best old pantry examples of a food that can support muscle and the structure around it at the same time. Number 3 is the bone and muscle tin. NIAMS. The U.S. National Institute of Arthritis and Musculoskeletal and Skin Diseases states in its Bone Health Guidance reviewed in March 2025 that calcium helps harden and strengthen bones, and its calcium and vitamin D guidance explains that sardines and salmon with bones can be good calcium sources, while fish, such as salmon, tuna, and mackerel, can help provide vitamin D. That makes this more than a plain protein tip. It is a support your frame tip. Older kitchens kept tins because tins earned their shelf space. They were cheap, they lasted, and they rescued thin weeks without much fuss. Sardines and canned salmon were never sold as lifestyle foods. They were practical foods. The modern mistake is walking past cheap, shelf-stable, nutrient-dense foods while spending money on bars, pouches, and drinks that look healthier than they really are. After 50, that matters even more, because strength is not only about muscle hanging off your bones, it is about muscle working with bone, balance, and confidence. The body logic is simple enough to say without making it sound grand. Better muscle helps you move. Better support around that muscle helps you trust movement. And when movement feels more trustworthy, you tend to move more, which helps muscle again. That is why 1 or 2 tins a week can be such a practical old-school habit. If you tolerate fish, keep canned salmon or sardines in the cupboard. If you want the extra calcium, choose versions with the soft edible bones and mash them well. Stir them with mustard, lemon, black pepper, or a spoon of yogurt. Put that on toast, rice, crackers, or a baked potato. It is not glamour food. It is useful food. And what I like about this item is that it solves more than one problem at once. It is shelf-stable. It is quick. It can rescue a weak lunch. It can turn a potato into a real meal. It can keep you from defaulting to crackers or sweets when the fridge is empty. Old households respected foods that could do more than one job. This is one of them. And if fish is not something you want every day, the next item gives you a softer, colder, easier route into more useful protein. And if this kind of plain, useful nutrition advice is your lane, subscribe, because this channel is for people who want stronger everyday bodies without turning the kitchen into a supplement showroom. Number 2 is the Cold Supper Dairy Bowl. On the 17th of August 2021, researchers published a systematic review and meta-analysis in Nutrients, reporting that milk-based protein supplementation showed a moderate effect on lean mass gains in older adults doing resistance training, especially when baseline protein intake was not already high. That is exactly the kind of realistic evidence I like for this channel. Not hype, not fantasy, just a useful signal that dairy protein can fit into a supportive muscle routine. Old households leaned on milk, yogurt, and cottage cheese because they were familiar, filling, and easy to turn into a meal when nobody wanted to cook again. That still matters today, especially in the evening, because a lot of adults over 50 are simply tired by then. The modern mistake is ending the day with snack food that is easy but not very useful. Crackers, cereal, sweets, a few chips, or whatever is sitting in reach. Those foods may take the edge off hunger, but they usually do very little if your deeper issue is that your muscles did not get enough decent protein. That is why the cold supper dairy bowl works so well in real life. Buy plain Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, whichever is cheaper where you live, and whichever you will actually eat often enough to matter. If you want sweet, add berries, sliced banana, cinnamon, or a spoon of oats. If you want savory, add pepper, cucumber, tomato, herbs, or a drizzle of olive oil. It can be breakfast, a light lunch, or an evening recovery meal after walking, gardening, or chores. It does not need to be impressive. It needs to be repeatable, and repeatable is what keeps you from drifting into weak meals again. There is another reason this item belongs near the top. It helps people who say, "I know I should eat more protein, but I don't want another hot meal." That is a real problem after 50. Appetite shifts. Energy changes. Cooking fatigue is real. A cold dairy bowl respects that. It gives you an easy protein anchor when motivation is low. It can also be adjusted to your budget week by week. Some weeks, Greek yogurt will be cheaper. Some weeks, cottage cheese will be. The exact product matters less than the habit of keeping one simple protein option ready. And now we get to the hidden pantry item the whole video has been building toward. Number 1 is the hidden pantry powder. Instant non-fat dry milk. As of the 21st of March 2026, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Agricultural Marketing Service describes non-fat dry milk as milk with water and fat removed, while retaining the milk proteins and minerals in the same relative proportions as the fresh milk it came from, and Walmart's current dry milk listings show a 25, 6-ounce great value bag at $8.86, with 32 servings, which works out to roughly 28 cents a serving. That is why the title can honestly say around 30 cents. And this is why I call it hidden powder. It is not some flashy mystery dust. It is shelf-stable milk. This is where old kitchen thrift beats modern supplement marketing by a mile. A lot of people assume that if a powder is supposed to help muscle, it has to be sold in a black tub, cost a fortune, and taste like artificial dessert. But practical kitchens used dried goods for one simple reason. They stretched the budget and strengthened meals. That is exactly what instant non-fat dry milk still does. It gives you a low-cost dairy protein option that can disappear into food you already make, which matters a lot after 50, when appetite may be lower, meat may cost more, and skipping protein earlier in the day becomes easy without even noticing. The first modern mistake this fixes is the weak breakfast. Oatmeal made with water fills the stomach, but it does not do much for muscle support by itself. Stir dry milk into the oats, and now the bowl works harder. The second mistake is comfort food with almost no protein in it. Mashed potatoes, creamy soups, chowders, sauces, pancake batter, and casseroles can all quietly carry more value when this powder goes in. The third mistake is thinking you need to drink a dedicated protein shake to get any benefit from a powder. You do not. For many adults over 50, the smartest use is not a shake at all. It is hiding the powder inside ordinary foods until the day's protein starts looking less accidental and more intentional. And here is the evidence-based part that keeps this recommendation honest. The 17th of August 2021 Nutrients Review found that milk-based protein may help support lean mass gains in older adults doing resistance training, with better results when overall protein intake was not already high. That does not make this powder a shortcut around work. It does not make it magic. What it does is make it believable. It says milk-based protein can be useful, and this form happens to be cheap, shelf-stable, and easy to blend into meals. That is the kind of promise a sensible person can actually use. So what should you buy? Buy plain, instant, non-fat, dry milk powder with a short ingredient list. The Walmart product information for the Great Value version lists non-fat dry milk, vitamin A palmitate, and vitamin D3, and describes it as rich in calcium, a good source of protein, and easy to use in recipes. That is the kind of product you want. Basic, unsweetened, not dressed up like dessert, and cheap enough that you will not be stingy with it. Start small. Add a couple of tablespoons to oatmeal, mashed potatoes, soup, scrambled eggs, or pancake batter. If you like smoothies, add some there too. If you prefer, reconstitute it and use it like milk. But the hidden food method is often easier because it lets you improve meals without asking yourself to suddenly love a tall glass of powdered milk. What makes this item so strong is not just the price. It is the flexibility. It can rescue breakfast. It can fortify comfort food. It can sit on a shelf for the weeks when the fridge looks empty. It can stretch a budget when meat prices are annoying. It can help you build a more supportive meal pattern without turning your life upside down. That is the old lesson people forgot. Stronger bodies were often built in ordinary kitchens with ordinary foods, not because the past was magical, but because people knew how to make simple staples do more work. And that is really the whole message of this video. Use your muscles often enough that your body remembers them. Feed them more than once a day. Keep a few shelf-stable foods around that can rescue weak meals. Stop confusing expensive with effective. After 50, useful strength usually comes back the same way it was built in the first place, through steady signals, plain food, and habits that survive an ordinary week. So here is your weekly action plan. This week, do 2 short strength sessions, even if that just means chair stands, counter push-ups, rows, and carries for 15 minutes. Ring the protein bell at least twice a day for the next 7 days. Keep 1 dairy bowl ready for the evenings when dinner runs light. Put 1 or 2 tins of salmon or sardines in the cupboard. And buy 1 bag of instant non-fat dry milk powder and use it at least 4 times before the week ends. Add it to 1 breakfast and 1 comfort food meal you already eat. Keep it cheap. Keep it plain. Keep it repeatable. If you have severe kidney disease or you have been told to follow a medically prescribed low-protein diet, talk with your clinician before deliberately increasing protein intake. So now I want to hear from you. Which one are you actually willing to try first, and what old cheap food helped the strongest older person in your family stay capable? Take care of your strength, and it will take care of your freedom.